Imagine the life you want. Close your eyes and see it as vividly as possible. Now do this 100 times. Yes, again and again, until it no longer feels like a dream, but like an undeniable reality. The process of creation begins with imagination. What you imagine consistently with clarity and emotion has no choice but to become your reality. Think about this: everything in your life right now, where you live, what you do, how you feel, began in your mind. The thoughts you entertained, the images you held, have formed the world around you. If this is true for your past, then it must be true for your future. You are always creating, whether consciously or unconsciously. So why not create with intention? Why not decide right now to imagine the exact life you want? You have this power within you. The mind is not just a tool for analyzing or solving problems. The mind is the creator, and imagination is its workshop. But here's the secret: it's not enough to imagine it once and expect it to appear. It's about repetition, constant, deliberate, focused repetition. Imagine the same scene with all the details and feelings again and again. Imagine it until it feels natural, until it feels like something that has already happened. Repetition is key. The more you dwell in this imagined state, the more real it becomes in your inner world. And remember, your outer world is nothing but a reflection of your inner state. When you have imagined it 100 times, when you have rehearsed it in your mind to the point that it feels second nature, reality will conform to match that inner image. Let your imagination become your reality through repetition. The feeling of already having what you desire is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Cross that bridge every time you imagine, every time you feel the fulfillment of your wish. There's no magic number to the 100 repetitions. It's about persistence. It's about returning to that imagined scene until it feels like home. You see, the mind is incredibly powerful, but it is also incredibly receptive to suggestion, especially repeated suggestion. What you feed it consistently, it accepts as truth. And when the subconscious mind accepts it as truth, it begins to reshape your reality to match that belief. It brings people, opportunities, and circumstances into your life to fulfill that vision. This is not chance or coincidence. This is the law of life at work. So begin now. Close your eyes and imagine. Imagine it clearly with every detail and feel it deeply. Then do it again and again until it feels inevitable, until your imagination and your reality become one. Imagine it 100 times and watch as your vision moves from your mind into your world. What you repeatedly see in your mind, you will hold in your hand. This is the power within you, and it's time to use it consciously. Imagination is the seed of reality because it is the origin of everything that manifests in your life. Before anything can exist in the physical world, it must first exist in the mind. Every object, experience, and situation you encounter was once just a thought or an idea. The chair you sit on, the home you live in, even the job you have, all of these began as concepts in someone's imagination. They were mental images, brought into reality by the actions that followed those thoughts. When you imagine something with intensity and belief, you are planting the seed of its creation. It is not enough to casually think of something. The imagination must be vivid, detailed, and filled with conviction. This is the moment when the seed begins to take root. As you hold this image in your mind, believing in its possibility, you are shaping the blueprint for what will eventually manifest. The mind does not differentiate between what is real and what is imagined. It only responds to the images and feelings you consistently project. Think of your imagination as a field where every thought you plant has the potential to grow. The more emotion and attention you give it, the more it develops. Your inner vision becomes like a map for your subconscious mind to follow, influencing your actions, decisions, and even the people and circumstances that enter your life. It is through the repetition of these mental images, infused with belief, that the invisible becomes visible and the imagined becomes real. Assume it and rehearse it in your mind, for this is the key to turning desire into reality. When you imagine your desire as already achieved, you are not merely daydreaming, you are engaging in a mental rehearsal that begins to align your thoughts, emotions, and actions with the fulfillment of that desire. By consistently seeing yourself in the state of already having what you want, you create a new framework for your subconscious mind to operate within. This mental rehearsal is powerful because the mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. Each time you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are impressing this image deeper into your subconscious, training it to act in alignment with your desire. The more you rehearse this state mentally, the more familiar and natural it becomes. You begin to live from the perspective of having already achieved your goal, and this shift in consciousness starts to influence every part of your being. As you mentally rehearse your desire, you are creating a blueprint for your reality. Every detail you imagine, how it feels, what you see, who is around you, strengthens this inner image. The subconscious mind takes these imagined experiences as instructions, guiding your thoughts, actions, and circumstances toward the realization of what you've envisioned. Each time you revisit this mental rehearsal, you are solidifying the foundation for manifestation, making it easier for your outer world to reflect what you have already accepted internally. The power of repetition is the secret to embedding your desires into the fabric of your subconscious mind. When you repeatedly imagine the same scene over and over, it is not just a casual exercise, it is the deliberate planting of a seed that takes root deeper each time you engage with it. This consistent mental imagery works like drops of water nourishing a plant, gradually strengthening its presence in the soil of your mind until it becomes an unshakable reality. Every time you replay the same vision, seeing yourself in the scenario you wish to experience, you are reinforcing the neural pathways in your brain that align with that outcome. The mind, through repetition, starts to accept this imagined reality as truth. It doesn't matter if the situation hasn't physically manifested yet, the subconscious mind responds to repeated images as if they were already real. The more you see, feel, and experience this inner vision, the stronger its influence becomes. This repetition not only imprints the desired scene onto your subconscious but also shapes your beliefs and behavior. The more frequently you engage with the same vision, the more natural and familiar it feels. It becomes less of a distant wish and more of an inevitable reality. As the roots of this repeated imagery grow deeper, your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to align with the fulfillment of that desire, drawing it closer to manifestation. Feel it until it becomes natural, for this is the true key to unlocking the door to your desires. It's not enough to simply see what you want in your mind, you must connect deeply with the emotions and sensations that accompany it. Visualizing the outcome is only the beginning. The real transformation occurs when you immerse yourself fully in the feeling of already having what you desire. It is the emotional connection that bridges the gap between your inner vision and its outer manifestation. When you imagine, don't just picture the scene, feel the joy, the satisfaction, the relief, or the excitement of having already achieved it. What does it feel like to be living the life you've dreamed of? To be in that relationship, to have that career, to enjoy that success? Close your eyes and step into that state completely. Let the emotions flood your mind and body as if it's happening right now. The more vividly you can feel it, the more real it becomes to your subconscious mind. Your feelings are the language your subconscious understands. While the conscious mind may analyze and question, the subconscious simply responds to feelings and impressions. When you engage your emotions, you are sending a powerful signal that this is your reality. The more natural it feels, the more your mind accepts it as truth. It is in this state, when your imagined reality feels as familiar and comfortable as something you already possess, that you begin to shift the circumstances of your life to align with that vision. Think about this: how natural does it feel to live in your current reality? You don't question it, you don't second guess whether it's real. You simply move through life with the unconscious belief that this is your world. Now, what if you could feel the same way about your desired reality? What if it felt so natural, so normal, that you no longer thought of it as something in the future, but as something you already have? This is the level of certainty and comfort you must reach in your imagination. When you no longer view your desire as something distant or unattainable, but as something that belongs to you, you are in perfect alignment with it. This is where the magic happens. The moment you can feel the reality of your desire without effort, Without trying to convince yourself, you have planted the seed in the most fertile ground. Your emotions have prepared the soil, and the naturalness of your feeling waters it daily. As you practice this state of feeling, you stop wishing for your desire, and instead you begin to live from it. It becomes a part of you. Feeling it as natural also means eliminating any sense of doubt or separation. There can be no gap between where you are and where you want to be in your emotional experience. If, when you imagine, you still feel like you are reaching for something far away, that distance will persist in your outer world. But when the feeling of your wish fulfilled becomes as real as your present surroundings, your subconscious mind goes to work to make that feeling match your external circumstances. Pay attention to how it feels when you walk through your day with confidence, knowing that your desire is already yours. How would you act? How would you carry yourself? What decisions would you make if you truly believed that everything you wanted was already within your grasp? Practice this feeling until it becomes second nature. It should feel like slipping into a familiar role, one that fits perfectly with who you are. The more you practice this, the less it will feel like pretending, and the more it will feel like the truth of your being. Remember, feeling is the key to everything. They give up just before the tipping point, just before their persistent imagination would have manifested in the physical world. But you must hold on. You must continue to imagine, feel, and believe even when there's no evidence that things are changing. In fact, it's often when you can't see any changes that the biggest shifts are happening beneath the surface. Just like a seed germinates in the darkness before it breaks through the soil, your desires are growing in the unseen, preparing to emerge in your life. Think of persistence as the water and sunlight that nurture your seed of desire. Without persistence, that seed withers and dies. But with regular, focused attention through repeated imaginative exercises, you nourish it, giving it the energy it needs to grow and thrive. The more you persist, the stronger it becomes. Eventually, it breaks through the surface of your reality, blossoming into the life you've always dreamed of. The persistence also builds belief. The more you persist in imagining and feeling your desired reality, the more your subconscious mind begins to accept it as truth. At first, your desire may seem distant or even impossible. But as you persist, it becomes familiar, natural. You begin to believe in it more and more, and belief is the key that unlocks the door to manifestation. Once your subconscious mind accepts your desire as fact, the outer world must follow suit. It's only a matter of time before what you've been imagining becomes your lived experience. So persist, no matter what. Hold on to your vision, even when the world around you doesn't yet reflect it. Know that every time you imagine, every time you feel the reality of your desire, you are casting another vote for that reality to come into being. And with enough votes, with enough persistence, it will. The universe will bend to your will, and the reality you've so patiently and consistently imagined will become the reality you live. In those moments when you feel like giving up, remember that you are closer than you think. The breakthrough is often just on the other side of persistence. Keep going, keep imagining, keep casting your votes for the life you want. With each act of imagination, you bring it one step closer to fruition. The only way you can fail is by stopping too soon. So persist and let your imagination do the work of creating the life you desire. Live from the end, again and again. This concept is at the heart of true manifestation. Every time you imagine your desire, don't just picture it as something far off in the future. Instead, place yourself mentally in the state of already having achieved it. This is where the real power of imagination lies, not in hoping or wishing for something to happen, but in assuming that it already has. When you live from the end, you bypass all the doubts, obstacles, and delays that the logical mind creates, and you step directly into the reality where your desire already exists. Living from the end means mentally embracing the feeling of fulfillment now in the present moment. It requires a shift in consciousness, a movement away from the idea of being separate from your desire to the understanding that you are already one with it. When you live from the end, you no longer wait for something external to happen. You no longer hope that one day your dream will come true. Instead, you assume that it already has, and you act, think, and feel as though you are living that reality right now. This mental shift is crucial because your mind cannot distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined. When you consistently place yourself in the end result, your subconscious mind accepts it as fact, and this changes everything. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to align with the fulfillment of that desire. You start to attract the people, opportunities, and circumstances that match this new state of being. The outer world begins to mold itself to your inner vision. Living from the end also means letting go of the need to control how or when your desire will manifest. You no longer worry about the details because you trust that the universe will bring it about in the perfect way. When you live from the end, the question of how becomes irrelevant. You've already mentally claimed your desire as a reality, so you allow the natural unfolding of events to bring it into physical form. There's no need to force or push anything to happen. Instead, you relax into the knowing that it's already done. This state of living from the end is not something you do once and forget about. It's a practice that you return to again and again. Each time you imagine, you mentally place yourself in that fulfilled state, and with each repetition it becomes more real to you. At first it may feel like a stretch. Your current circumstances may seem so far from your desired reality that it feels like you're pretending. But as you persist in living from the end, it starts to feel more natural. Your mind begins to accept it, and soon it feels like the most normal thing in the world. This is the tipping point when your imagination becomes so saturated with the feeling of your desire fulfilled that it can no longer be denied. Living from the end also changes the way you respond to your current reality. When you know that your desire is already fulfilled in your mind, you stop reacting to temporary setbacks or challenges in the same way. You don't get discouraged by delays because you know they are just part of the process. You don't let doubts or fears take hold because your inner vision is so strong. Instead, you remain steady in your conviction, knowing that what you've imagined is on its way to manifesting in the physical world. Think of living from the end as planting a seed. Once you've planted it, you don't keep digging it up to see if it's growing. You trust that, beneath the surface, it's developing roots, even though you can't see it yet. In the same way, when you live from the end, you trust that your desire is already growing beneath the surface of your reality. You don't need to constantly check or question if it's working. You just persist in the feeling of having already received it. Each time you imagine, you water that seed with your attention and belief. Each time you return to the state of the end result, you are nourishing it, helping it to grow stronger. This is why living from the end is a practice that requires repetition and consistency. But each time you do it, you are aligning more deeply with the reality you desire. You are training your mind to accept this new state of being as your truth. One of the most powerful aspects of living from the end is that it allows you to bypass the struggle of trying to manifest. When you live in the end result, you're not focused on the process or the obstacles. You're not fixated on the how or when you've already arrived in your mind at the fulfillment of your desire. This mental arrival creates a sense of peace and certainty. It eliminates the anxiety that comes with waiting for something to happen. You're no longer striving or reaching, you're living in the reality where your desire already exists. This doesn't mean that you sit back and do nothing. Living from the end will naturally inspire you to take actions that align with your desired reality. But these actions won't feel forced or desperate. Instead, they will arise from a place of confidence and ease, because you're acting from the knowing that your desire is already yours. You'll find yourself naturally drawn to the people, places, and opportunities that support your vision. And because you're living from the end, you'll recognize these opportunities when they appear. Living from the end also transforms your relationship with time. When you mentally place yourself in the state of fulfillment, you stop worrying about how long it will take for your desire to manifest. Time becomes irrelevant because in your mind it's already done. This shift in perspective actually speeds up the manifestation process because you're no longer creating resistance with thoughts of doubt or impatience. When you live from the end, you are in a state of allowing, and this allows the universe to move more swiftly on your behalf. The more you practice living from the end, the more natural it becomes. At first, it may feel like you're acting or pretending, but with time, your mind begins to accept this new state as real. Eventually, it feels effortless. You wake up each day with the feeling of fulfillment. And because of this, you start to see evidence of your desire showing up in your physical world. The outer reality begins to reflect the inner state you've been living in. Remember, each time you imagine, place yourself in the end result. Don't just wish for it or hope for it. Mentally step into the version of yourself who already has it. See yourself as already living that life. Feel the emotions that come with that fulfillment, joy, satisfaction, peace. Let those feelings become your dominant state and return to them again and again. The more you live from the end, the more you shift your consciousness, and as your consciousness shifts, so does your reality. Living from the end is the ultimate act of faith. It's a declaration to yourself and to the universe that your desire is already done, and the universe responds to that certainty. It aligns the circumstances, events, and people necessary to bring your inner vision into physical form. So live from the end again and again and watch as your imagination becomes the doorway to the life you've always dreamed of. Emotion energizes your imagery. It's the spark that transforms a passive daydream into a living, breathing force capable of reshaping your reality. Imagination alone can create vivid pictures in your mind, but without the fuel of emotion, those images remain just that, empty pictures with no power behind them. It's emotion that gives life to your imagination, turning a simple mental picture into something that vibrates with energy, something that the universe cannot ignore.